What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about some Zenless Zone Zero. So in case you don't know, in case you're unaware, it's the 1-year anniversary of Zenless. It's been out for a year and they dropped a huge patch, patch 2.0 for Zenless. And it came with a lot of stuff. Now the last time we talked about Zenless here was about a month after the game dropped, so a lot has changed not only in the game itself, but in the way I play the game. And if you play the game too, then you already know about some of the big changes, some of the new characters, some of the new agents, a lot of the new stuff that's going on. But in case you don't, we're going to cover some of those things here. Now let's talk about what's changed with how I play the game, because that's what you're primarily going to be seeing in the video here. First things first, it's the agents. When I first started playing Zenless, obviously there weren't as many agents, but I was running Zuyan, I was running Rena, and I was running Grace. That was my squad, that was the homies. That is no longer the case. I have gained so many new S rank agents, it's insane. And they're all level 60 right now. They're like fully maxed out when it comes to their cores, their ability. Well, the abilities aren't as maxed out because generally you don't have to do every single one. So I don't, there are a couple that have full 12s. Not everyone is fully 12'd, but usually when it comes to like special, ultimate, and auto attack, I go 12 on that. So what is the main squad looking like now? I'd say the people that I play with the most right now are going to be Astra, Evelyn, and Caesar. That is the main squad. That is the squad I go into most of my battles with. That squad gets the job done. And it's interesting because when they were premiering Astra and Evelyn, I initially didn't want Astra. I was like, I'll skip Astra, I'll grab Evelyn, and that'll be it. I think I did a really short, I think it was like a 10 pull on Astra's banner. Got her immediately. So I was like, oh, okay. I'm cool with that, I guess. And then I saved up, and then Evelyn dropped, and then I got her in like a 20 pull. I was like, bet, we got the full squad then. And ever since then, I've pretty much just been running those two along with a third party. Now, the other agent that I frequently used before I got Astra and Evelyn was Yanagi. And I don't know if I got around to saying it in the first video. Yanagi was just a NPC way back then when I made the first one. She was a character that I desperately wanted them to make into an actual playable agent. Like desperately. She was always waiting at the outpost, and I was like, I need to be able to play this character. And so they made her, and I pulled for her immediately. She is probably my favorite agent released to date. Like her entire kit, I love. I use her, honestly, I don't use her as much now that I have Astra and Evelyn, which is kind of sad. She's still my favorite. I just don't have the team I want to play with her yet. I'm still workshopping her. She's like maxed out. I even have her W engine. But I don't have the team I want for her yet. I don't have the team that feels right. And here's the thing. I don't necessarily play Zenless right, as was evident with Genshin, as is evident here. I kind of play to what's most fun, not necessarily what maximizes the potential of the team. I'm trying to adjust that to where I actually get a little bit of both in there, where I'm still having fun, but the team is compatible and the team actually gets the job done. So we're making strides, And what I hope to do is find a solid team for Yanagi so that I can use her in a bit more scenarios. I've done scenarios where I pair her with like Quinji and Zuyan, so I can get like the officer buff and then the electric buff. Honestly, I really like having Caesar on a team, whatever team I play, because that shield is so nice. The shield, the buffs, like that's just a really solid unit to have on your team. And I desperately want a replacement for, or not a replacement, but an additional agent that's like Caesar. So I can have like two teams that are built somewhat similar, but with different like proficiencies. And shortly after, well, not shortly. And besides Yanagi, I would say that Evelyn is my other favorite. So Yanagi and Evelyn are my two favorite agents. Yanagi is my top one. I think she will be up until they really release someone else that captures my attention. And then Evelyn is my second favorite. And Evelyn, I wasn't expecting to like as much. Her kit's really fun and it's really good. And she just worked her way up to the top. Like I feel wild when I don't use her in combat because I'm so used to having her abilities in there doing the work that anything else just feels foreign. And Yanagi, I will use Yanagi with any team pretty much. Like I said, I don't have the team comp for. I pretty much, when I throw Yanagi in there, I only play Yanagi, so the other two just don't even get any kind of shine, which is also a problem that I'm trying to work on because her kit, her combos are too fun to me to be swapping out to other people. And like her wipeout, Yanagi and Evelyn have clean wipeouts, like just immaculate characters all around. If they were more viable on a team, I'd be all for it. But yeah, when I look at the S ranks, I have almost all the ones that I'd say I want. The only person that I've kind of seen go crazy that I don't have is Miyabi. And I don't necessarily want Miyabi character-wise, but I think as far as like a team composition, I don't have any solid ice people. And she would pretty much take that field up and run with it. But I haven't pulled for her, and I don't really have any intention to pull for her in the near future, so we'll see if she ends up coming or if there's a better ice person that shows up. We'll see. Now, what's changed about the game itself? They've made a lot of quality of life changes that I personally appreciate. Even before the 2.0 patch, they made a lot of life changes, like the exploration when you're traveling through basically the TV signal minigame type stuff. They made that a lot more digestible, because personally, that used to be the most boring thing to me, is, you know, traveling through the TVs. It wasn't like the worst thing in the world, but it felt like something that I didn't want to do. So much so that a lot of the missions in exploration, I just haven't done. Like, I've done the combat, and the story beats, I follow those. The basic exploration though, just kind of feels like a buzzkill. And they improved that to where it's not as egregious to go through. Like, you're not just bouncing around through TVs, listening to dialogue, bouncing to another TV. Every once in a while, you get a little smidge of combat. They've made it a lot more streamlined, a lot cleaner, a lot less of a hassle to get through. I still don't necessarily go to those, and I probably still have a backlog of those to do. But the ones I've done since they've changed that, much more engaging. They've added a lot of QoS to the kind of more daily type stuff. Like if you're grinding for materials, if you're trying to get certain items, they've made it a lot easier to get those without necessarily going through the full combat. Like, you get cards for some of the notorious hunts, you get things for the disk drives, where you can pretty much say, okay, I've already done this once, let me just run 4 simulations and get the stuff back. And it's super quick, super easy. They've made changes to the trust system, so that you're actually like inviting the agents out, and you're being a lot more interactive with them, which personally I like. I think it's pretty cool. It makes the entire process feel a lot better. Now, I think I've pretty much gone through most of the ones that I actually want to have a trust relationship with. I should probably do them all, to be honest, but you know, I don't, because I'm lazy. But one of my favorite changes is how they've done the Hollow Zero kind of exploration. That entire zone, I feel like, is much better. Like, they took it from what it was and kind of made it this almost like a dungeon crawl type pathway system, where you engage in combat, you kind of go through different paths, and you have, you know, your 3 select champs, you go through them. Like, that is so much more fun, and I'm so much more willing to do those now that they've made those changes. And that's what the end goal is for what they're trying to do here, is make things more fun and digestible. You know, you still want to keep some level of combat, some level of interaction. You want the game to be a game. You don't want it to just be, you know, an easy hack and slash. You want it to have some complexity to it, but you don't want it to be boring and repetitive. So I think they're doing a very good job at making changes to make a lot of these different features engaging while not removing like the full gameplay aspect of it. Now, something that I don't like, something that irks me so much, is that in the newest patch in 2.0, they changed the control scheme. So they kind of added features to where if you've played Genshin before, you have like this wheel of options that'll lead you to different areas, like your storage, your agents, your events, all that stuff. It's on a wheel instead of like being just a generic option at the top right. And that wheel, if you're playing on controller, is tied to like your L2 bumper, or at least for me it is. And that is a problem, because in combat, L2 was my dodge. That's how I moved around, that's how I dodged and dashed. If you've ever seen me play Genshin, if you've ever seen me play Zenless, I am what I like to call a dash fighter. Dashing is how I set up my combos, it's how I get in position, get in my rhythm. I dash in the middle of combos. Like, I don't know if it's necessarily efficient. That's how I like to play these types of games. And so having my movement on the left side of my controller, so where My generic movement with my analog stick, left side, dashing, dodging, left side, and then attacking is going to be primarily on the right side. Well, they swapped that. So now where my attack is square, my dodge is X. And for some, that might be a minute change. For me, that changes my gameplay entirely because I kind of have to remap how I fight. Because now instead of pressing, L2 while I'm pressing square to attack, I've got to swap from square to X in order to kind of initiate that dash and then back from X to square. And it's a small thing, but as far as like keeping a rhythm of fighting going, it disrupts that for me. And there's no way to change it back. They have locked L2 to that little scroll wheel, cannot be changed, even though it's not combat oriented. And that frustrates me so much. I'm hoping that they push out some kind of patch or update that allows us to change that, especially because in combat, you don't use that wheel, so that option should be available. I don't know why it's locked in the first place. I'm hoping they change that because that aggravates me. And seeing as combat is my favorite part of this game, I would love it if I could do combat the way that I want. Now for the new patch, they dropped things like, so we have Wise and Belle getting new outfits. They have an entirely new section of the story, part 2. They introduced the cinema, which has been pretty fun. I haven't gotten too far into it quite yet, but I'm enjoying it. They introduced this battle bot thing for the Bangbus. I don't like it. It feels really clunky. It feels really slow. And the more I played it, the more it became like, okay, I'm still not a fan of it, to the point where once I've gotten all the stuff I need from like all materials, I'm never touching it again. I will say that once you get to the part where you can fly and shoot from range, it gets a lot better. It feels a lot less clunky because basically you're just flying and shooting in range. You can dodge, launch missiles. That feels a lot better than the actual like fist-to-fist combat. It's not my favorite minigame. And honestly, some of the Bangbu games, I don't like. If you played I forget what it's called exactly, but it's the one where you have the two Bangbus going to each other like the fashion show. That was probably my least favorite minigame, side event of the entire game. The entire year it's been out, I think that was my least favorite thing they have ever done. So much so that I still have not completed that. It's still in my missions, it's still in my in or not like schedule, just sitting there rotting, because I don't want to go back to that. Man, was that just not a fun time. And with this patch, they have already dropped a lot of new visuals for new characters. I'm sure you've seen them on TikTok or on YouTube, on Twitter. Personally, I plan on skipping all of them till Orpheus comes out because that's probably the most interesting one to me design-wise. I've seen a few clips of her and her personality is not what I expected, but I still have hope that I'm going to like the character, so we'll see. But that's who I'm going to be saving for my next pull. I pretty much ran through everything getting Yizhuan and her W engine. Well, not everything. I still have a decent amount, but it's not like a stacked up amount. I should be able to save enough because I don't think Orpheus is coming out for a while. I think we've already gotten the next drops for like 2.1 and 2.2. So I think we have some decent time. And unless like I see some crazy good combat from these next drops, I should be able to stockpile enough to where I can pull and get Orpheus and not have to worry about losing a 50-50 or, anything like that. And before we go, I want to address one last thing, which is that is Zenless a better game than Genshin? And I'm addressing it from my perspective because I came from Genshin to Zenless. And I have to say, I really haven't gone back to Genshin. Genshin was fun. I had a really good time. I still love Jean. Jean's my favorite character. She always will be, always have a place in my heart. But I think Genshin kind of started to lose me when they started to do some unnecessary things. I know when Inazuma hit, I felt the fun drain from the game. Getting around that area for me was just a nuisance. I couldn't stand it. And then they dropped the area after that, which wasn't as bad as Inazuma. I still wasn't having fun. And it was just like, they keep adding these new areas. The areas aren't really fun to get around. I have to do strange story beats. Genshin story beats are so drawn out. And there's a lot of back and forth with Genshin story beats. There's a lot of movement, there's a lot of walking, and just empty space with the story beats where I want to be doing something, but I have to listen to the entirety of the story before I can actually get to doing something. And to be fair, I haven't been in Genshin in a long time, so that may have changed. They may have updated it. But as far as I recall, you really have to trudge through some of that story to get to anything good. And while Zenless doesn't really have the exploration and the open world that Genshin does, I think that kind of plays to one of its strengths where it keeps everything closed and concise. You're not overwhelmed by a lot. There isn't a whole lot out there. You still get new areas whenever you get like new agents. A new area will open up with that agent. So they're slowly expanding the world. Now it's not like you can go from one spot to the other seamlessly. You still have like fast travel and choose certain locations. So it's not a true open world experience. It's a very closed and specific world experience, but it works for the type of game it is. Like, it feels like there's a lot less fluff and extra stuff that comes with Zenless that you would get in Genshin, where sometimes in Genshin, that's fun, that works. A lot of the time, it pads on and it takes up time from you enjoying the game. So personally, I prefer Zenless. I think Zenless is a fresh take on what Mihoi Minoue has been doing. I'm gonna stick with it. It hasn't lost my interest yet. I don't think it will anytime soon. I still play, as much as I can. I still at least get my dailies in, so even a year strong, Zenless still has a solid score from me. Be sure to let me know what you think down below. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.